Hey, good morning. My name is Chris Rodenheiser. Of course, I always say that. Anyway, I'm the lead pastor here at Emmaus Church, and I have the great honor of sitting down with Nick and Tina Freitas. And again, you can tell that Tina is much prettier than Nick. And I just wanted to ask them a few questions. They've been married for 12 years. Let's jump right into it. And you guys can answer separately or whatever. Or Nick, you can just let Tina talk. That's probably better. Let me ask this. All right, so you've been married 12 years. Tell me this. How did you meet? How did you fall in love? How did you get to where you're at? And then how many kids have you had along the way? Because, of course, you're in love. You're going to have kids at some point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we met in high school. We went to a Christian high school together, but we didn't start dating until the kind of quarter of the way through the senior year. But our first interaction with each other was in the very first couple of weeks in 9th grade, and we got into a nice heated debate about something. Who knows? But that's kind of the way we roll.
Nick
Since.
Nick tried to debate you about like the sovereignty of God or something, or
limited atonement, 5 principles of Calvinism.
Okay, right. You jumped right into it. All right, yeah.
We got married right after high school, and then I was in the military, so we kind of bounced all over the place. But we were in North Carolina first, then moved out to Hawaii. That's where we had our first daughter, Lily, who's 8, and then we went back to North Carolina, beautiful Fayetteville, North Carolina. And then to Washington State, where we had Luke and Allie. Luke's 5 and Allie is 3. And that's probably out of that 12 years, I probably spent about 6 of it away from home.
Wow.
Between deployments and everything else. You know.
So you've been married 12 years. You have 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
You were most likely gone, what you figure, about 6 years of that time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Roughly.
So what would you say has been the hardest part of your marriage then?
I would say, well, for me, it's the separation. For Tina, it's probably the togetherness. That's but for me, it's
wow. Man, I'm going to get up to preach in a few minutes. I'm pretty much going to say the opposite of everything.
Definitely the being away was really difficult. And I would say, for the first half of our marriage, we really weren't synced in with the church. We were Christians. We grew up in a Christian school. Our faith was always important to us, but it definitely wasn't a daily part of our lives starting off. And then about halfway through our marriage, that's when I finally decided, hey, maybe I should stand up and be the spiritual head of my household. Maybe that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, right.
And
let me ask you this. What's been the greatest joy in your marriage?
You want to go first, Tony? I mean, since it's just been so joyful for you.
I mean, to me, my greatest joy is kind of comes with a background. We both come from divorced families. Mm-hmm. Nick experienced two divorces, and I experienced 1. And even if it's an amicable divorce, it's always going to leave behind wounds, especially for the kids. And it's hard, but it's true. And one of my greatest joys is that we've been able to overcome a lot of the old baggage that kind of passed down through the family, habits and patterns that people just kind of claimed as being just part of them. And we've been able to seek the Holy Spirit on this, and He's been able to develop us beyond what the bags our parents packed for us, basically. So my greatest joy is knowing that our kids will never experience that, and they actually experience a very loving relationship that's healthy. So
you're saying that each of your parents were divorced,
mm-hmm.
and but you've made a commitment under Jesus Christ. That's not going to happen in your marriage, and you're moving forward with Jesus. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. That's an amazing testimony.
We're on the same page with that ahead of time, too. So.
We know the stats and all that, and that's what I wanted to get to that point, too, is that you've got this great joy in your marriage that far surpasses seeing your marriage as hopeless, but always seeing it as hope because you're pursuing Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me ask you something else. Is there something unique about your marriage that has drawn you closer together?
I would say, part of the thing is most marriages, more now so after the wars and everything, but most marriages usually don't endure, over a 12-year period, 6 of it being separate, and then Tina having to raise, the first time 2 kids on her own, and then 3 kids on her own while I'm, off gallivanting around Iraq and things like that.
Let me end this with this, as I say, bring it down for a landing, okay? Mm-hmm. All right, if there was one piece of advice that you could give to people who are thinking about marriage or just married, what would it be?
For me, I would say the one thing that I think we did right, because I was 19 and she was 20 when we got married, so we got married very young. We actually had people at our wedding betting that we wouldn't make it.
Oh yeah, because you know who you are, Frank.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, he didn't do
it. They're throwing Frank under the bus. Where's Frank sitting?
He didn't do it.
To our right.
He heard it, but he didn't do it.
Yeah. But one thing that we did is, and this came in part because I mean, even though there was divorce in our family, we still had a Christian foundation. And so we talked about everything.
Yeah.
We talked about how many kids we wanted to have, what we thought the roles were going to be, what was going to happen if we came to a decision that, you know, one of us, we just didn't agree, and one of us had to make a decision. Who was it going to be?
What we expected of each other.
Yeah, all of this was hashed out before we got married, and that doesn't mean that over 12 years and 3 kids and, you know, everything else, things didn't change. But we had a foundation to build from, so we had something to divert from, and as far as individual decisions, and it was a Christian foundation. We knew that we were going to establish our house the way that the Bible said to establish your house. And when you do that, things are going to come, but you're always able to but it's very important. Sit down with the person that you think of marrying and be very honest about, this is what I believe, this is how I think things should go. Right. Things are going to change, but as long as those fundamentals are there, you'll be all right.
It's all about expectations and talking about those.
In honesty, don't be calling up your family and bashing your husband after you have an argument. Really, there should not be a third party like that involved. It should be your relationship with Christ, the Holy Spirit, your spouse.
I appreciate Nick and Tina, your time, and I wanted to interview them, church, because I've watched them since they've been here. They've been here a couple of years, and I have watched their marriage. They may not realize that, but I actually watch people, and I watch them interact with their kids too. And I've noticed they serve together in the church, in ministry, and they strive to serve outside the walls as well and to be the church. If you've heard some background noise, that's their 3 kids. And I hope you hear it, because they always have their kids with them at church, because Nick leads his family, because he leads his family to value the local church. And I know he and Tina both do. They love each other. They love Jesus. They love Jesus' people. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah.